Another of God's divine institutions is the family. As families function in the primary role assigned to them, that of nurturing and training the children, a society is stabilized. The concept of the nuclear family is under attack as never before today, especially in America. Now, this is why God created man and woman with basic emotional differences that complement each other. They were designed in that way to best facilitate the raising and training of children. The role of the father as the primary authority and stability in the family is hardly acknowledged anymore. Even responsible married men spend most of their time outside the home. The idea today is that the man is to devote himself to his career. He must sacrifice quality time with his family in order to earn money to afford the American dream. And the concept of the American dream has gotten more and more materialistic. Women are indoctrinated that they will not be really fulfilled unless they also have a career. The idea of being a mother in a home who devotes herself to training and caring for the children is often belittled. Besides, with two incomes, they can afford more things. The training of the children is relegated to school teachers and babysitters. And even more tragic are the turnkey children, the ones who are left alone after school until the parents get home from work. The Bible warns in 1 Timothy 6:10, "For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, for which some have strayed from the faith in their greediness and pierced themselves through with many sorrows." Are parents really successful when they acquire 2 cars, a new home in a nice neighborhood with all the perks, if their children wind up on drugs and haven't the self-discipline and morality to succeed in life? Must we succumb to the philosophy that he who dies with the most toys wins? American society today has little concept of what it means to properly train a child in the way he should go. I recently observed a child in a restaurant. He completely controlled his parents with his tantrums and misbehavior. They kept trying to reason with him, but he just kept on with his terrible behavior in defiance of their authority. They finally had to leave the restaurant before they could even eat their meal. I thought, there goes another potential criminal because he has not been trained to have self-discipline. He has no respect for authority. I thought about what God's Word says. Foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child. The rod of discipline will drive it far from him. Now, the rod here means something like a paddle, a switch, or a belt. Something that stings the epidermis but does not injure the child. This is why you should never strike your child with your hand, nor should you discipline a child when you're angry and out of control. You must explain to the child that you're seeking to show him or her that bad choices and behavior have consequences. A parent today trained with false psychology will say, you can't love a child and inflict pain on him. But why does God teach this in His Word? Because a child has to learn respect for authority and learn that wrong behavior brings painful circumstances. You see, you don't have to teach a child how to be bad, do you? It comes naturally. All of us are born with fallen natures that we have to learn to restrain. The underlying premise of modern psychology is that we do not really have fallen natures, and a child can be reasoned into good behavior. To that, God says, the rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child who gets his own way brings shame to his mother. I still remember the vice principal of my high school in Houston. His name was Harlan Andrews. His brother was a famous Hollywood actor of that time named Dana Andrews. When I misbehaved and got sent to his office, I learned the consequences real quick. He had a paddle about half the size of a boat oar. He told me to bend over and almost lifted me off the floor with 3 swats. I never had to be sent back there again. I learned that authority disciplines wrong behavior. When my dad learned that I had to be sent to the office, he gave me another whipping with a belt. And you know, I never doubted that my dad loved me. Now, why do I bring up such fundamental things as this when discussing the decline and fall of America? Because it's the breakdown of parental training of children in the home that has caused our society to begin ripping apart at the seams. Many children today are out of control. They have no self-respect, no self-discipline, no boundaries on their behavior, and no respect for their parents, much less for governmental authority. If you're a Christian, God certainly disciplines you for not living in fellowship with Him. In Hebrews chapter 12, verses 5 to 11, God says, "My son, do not despise the chastening of the Lord, nor be discouraged when you're rebuked by Him. For whom the Lord loves, He chastens and scourges every son whom He receives. If you endure chastening, God deals with you as with sons. For what son is there whom a father does not chasten? But if you're without chastening, of which all have become partakers, then are you illegitimate and not sons. Furthermore, we've had human fathers who corrected us, and we paid them respect. Shall we not much more readily be in subjection to the Father of spirits and live? For they indeed for a few days chasten us as seemed best to them, but He for our profit, that we may be partakers of His holiness. Now no chastening seems to be joyful for the present, but painful. Nevertheless, afterward it yields the peaceable fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it." You know, I've certainly been in God's divine woodshed before, and it ain't fun. But I am thankful for it because it trained me to trust God and avoid behavior that later brought misery. Although they may not realize it, I think this generation is crying out for someone to love them enough to provide them with boundaries. Deep down, a child knows he needs discipline and a sense of self-control, self-worth. As a result of this lack, most children are bored. You know, I can't ever remember being bored as a child. I couldn't wait to get outside and play the games we invented. And in my day, most of those games involved strenuous physical activity. We didn't have computers, videos, games, CDs, DVDs, iPods, and all the other enticements to sedentary amusement. We played hard until we came in at night and fell into bed exhausted. Unless parents begin to be parents again, we'll not be able to build enough jails to hold the exploding criminal population. And our nation will fall under the weight of a society that can no longer function.